meeting of the Belmont Tourism Development Authority. Welcome, I would say. Nice to see everybody's smiling faces here live and in person, but I can't see your smiling faces. We are 6 feet apart. Can we take our masks off if we're 6 feet apart, or do we need to keep them on unless we're speaking?
It's been fine for some of the other meetings.
So if everybody's in agreement, we can take them off. It was really hard to get you to agree to that, wasn't it? So, welcome. It's good to see everybody here live and in person. So, before we get started, I would like to introduce our newest member to the board, Susan Mosk. So, welcome, Susan. Susan is the general manager.
Nope, I'm director of sales.
Director of sales for the Home 2 Suites, the brand new Home 2 Suites. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
About myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of this organization. I am from Philadelphia originally, but I've been in Gaston County for almost 30 years and have worked in the Gaston County area for all 30 years. So I love the community and just really am excited to be a part of it in a new industry for me. My past industry was health and wellness, business owner, and then also with the YMCA for another 15 years. So it's excited to stay connected to the community in a different light, and I'm excited to be in the hotel industry and be a part of this program.
Great. It's good to have you engaged here. So welcome. So we will set the agenda if there's no additions or changes to the agenda from the board. Okay. Consider the agenda set. You have the meeting minutes from the March 10th meeting. I'll give you a minute to look over those if you need it. And when somebody is prepared, I will accept a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion, a second.
I'll second.
Motion from Ryan, second from Ted. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. You also have in your packets the financial report, the expenditures and revenue. I'll give you a minute to review those if you haven't done so. So you will note that total expenses are $48,680 for the year, and that our revenues are at $41,000, almost $42,000 for the year. I would expect if you have all the occupancy tax proceeds added to that for the current fiscal year, we will nearly end up on June 30th with nearly a balanced budget. We paid the trolley board $20,000 at the beginning of the year that essentially came out of our fund balance. So that is, but that shows up in our operation as a deficit. So until you get to the end of the year, all the monthly expenses were budgeted accordingly, except for that $20,000 to the Belmont trolley. Any questions? Cassidy, you know of anything that's out of ordinary? We will accept that as information. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Applegate, the Gaston County Director of Tourism. So Michael, it's good to have you. Phil and I met with Mike and one of his consultants about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I guess. Mike and his board, which I serve on, have put together a community tourism action plan, a template for other municipalities that have a tourism board and have funding for the purpose of promoting tourism in their particular municipalities. A plan to help us focus, establish some strategic priorities. Maybe I shouldn't say too much more and really let Mike kind of take over and really explain that. The report, it's important for you to understand the report that you were provided with in your packets is a template. The words in there are the words that Mike and his team came up with. Mike, his team and the consultant, I guess, came up with. It's a template to do with if this is something that the board wants to use, we can change everything in that. But what we hope it will do is to help us communicate better with the Gaston County Tourism Authority Gaston County Tourism Office to allow us to work better together. So with that, maybe confusing introduction, I'll let Mike take over.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's great to have you on the Tourism Advisory Board for the county. Thank you. It's especially helpful that you're serving on both boards. So we appreciate your willingness to volunteer and to serve what we're doing in hospitality and leisure here across the county. And I guess I could say to this board that you might have Jim to thank for some of this extra work and coming through with some of the priorities, but this really flowed out of a strategic plan that the Tourism Advisory Board worked on with staff about 2 years ago now. So 2 years ago, we hired a consultant, about 3 years ago, hired a consultant to look at a strategic plan for travel and tourism. So just for our county department. I report to the county manager, one of 35 county departments, and we are completely funded by 3% of the occupancy tax revenue. So that's how we derive our funding. And that goes for the purposes of marketing and promoting the destination. But as we grow and develop, and I've been in the business now for about 20 years, and as we evolve as a profession, we also know the importance of branding and placemaking and developing experiences for visitors so that they'll want to stay longer, spend more money, give you great word of mouth referrals, talk about you well on social media, and come back and see what's new the next time. So as we grow our industry in Gaston County, and as we just look across all the municipalities and see these wonderful projects going on, we want to see what we can do in the future to take advantage of those opportunities. So my industry has kind of grown from marketing and promotion. That's still the majority of what we do. But now we think about expanding into enhancing that visitor experience. What are some programs and some projects that we can make sure that we're continually refreshing and building the amenities that we're offering in our destination, and at the same time, have great advocacy and strategic partner program, and then also, making sure that we're accountable for results and we're taking great care of our organization's resources. So, long story short, what we thought is under two of those focus areas, the sales and marketing and the experience development, we saw priorities kind of bubble up out of the 18 priorities that we identified that we could work directly with the municipality TDAs on accomplishing. And they were to continue to develop marketing programs and strategies to promote all of our municipalities, and then also to develop tourism product in each of the municipalities that could give everybody the opportunity to generate economic impact from tourism. So in developing the Community Tourism Action Plan, what we wanted to do is kind of put together and formulate our thought process and how we arrived at wanting to do this. And we certainly want the TDA's involvement, and we know that you're all volunteers. So I thought it would be unfair to say, all right, why don't you sit down and begin to work on a template or a strategy for how we might utilize some funds moving forward to continue to strengthen Belmont as a tourism attractor. And we just thought, well, it would be nice for the staff to kind of put together a first draft, use our time and effort and expertise on doing that, and kind of hand it off to the local staff so that they could evaluate and see how this might work. And I'm also located with economic development up at the visitor center. So just working side by side with Donnie Hicks and that crew for the last 5 or 6 years, we've absolutely developed a little bit of a economic development mindset as it pertains to travel and tourism, because a lot of what we have going on is still yet to be determined. We have great assets that we're thrilled to market, but anytime you pick up the paper, you see what's next in terms of projects. And I've had very specific conversations with folks in Belmont. And I think in particular, Phil and Park and Rec and other staff in Belmont can understand that when they're onto something that might be good for tourism countywide, they reach out and talk to us. So what we want to do is kind of formulate that collaboration, if you will, because as we continue to grow and grow our hotel properties, there's an opportunity perhaps as the economy recovers to enjoy more revenues being produced in the future than we have at present. When I came on board in the county, we had a strategic reserve fund of about $1.7 million. That's a double-edged sword, if you will. It's a target for people to say, why is travel and tourism not spending all the money? So my goal is to make sure that we're doing a great job promoting and marketing the destination and maximizing those funds to the best way we can. But we also want to be strategic with the reserves in that we want to protect from unforeseen challenges like COVID-19. I'm happy to tell you that the hit to our fund balance collectively in the past year has probably been just under $200,000 or so. So that's something we can survive as long as we're prepared and have money in the bank to help us survive it. We didn't have to dramatically reduce our support of our hospitality partners. In fact, we didn't. We went ahead and allocated the budget as we had planned. So we've done some things with the 1.7 million, and now we have about 1.2 or 3 million in reserves. So after the experience of COVID, we think, what do we need to make sure that we set aside so that our team can continually operate through difficult circumstances? We've had some real life experience now about doing that. So we want to make sure that we protect the fund balance, but then anything above what we need to promote and market and sustain ourselves going forward, we want to see what can we do to allocate to help the municipalities with rooms to fill, create better experiences that people will want to come and enjoy. So we'd like to create a system and a mechanism ultimately that gets us to the point of where we can work together to perhaps create a special fund between the county and the TDA. With the 6% occupancy taxes, 3% comes to the county for promotion, and then the other half stays in the municipality where it was collected. So if there are some things that we can do together to make sure that we're taking great care of that resource and to invest it wisely, we all know that there are plenty of priorities and projects and ideas out there that we could invest it in. The key would be to making sure that we're investing it wisely on things that are a priority, not only in the county strategic plan, but especially in the municipality's strategic plan, and that there's agreement collectively between the municipality and the county that these decisions will work towards growing the overall spending of visitors in our destination. So that's kind of a preamble into how we put this together. We took a strategic approach, and as you flip through the plan, you see that we have a purpose and a strategy, and the purpose was, like I said, twofold: to make sure that we're working together on the sales and marketing side, which I think we do a great job on. We'll, as a county, worry about trying to get people here from around the region, from Richmond, Virginia, down to Atlanta, Georgia, along the I-85. We know that we have a great story to tell, and we've seen a lot of traffic coming from within 300 miles away. We know we can get people interested in coming to our destination. That said, a lot of our tourism partners, besides the hotels, really don't care where that dollar is generated. So if on the local municipal side, we're doing things with the dollars to support festivals and events and programs, and just to make sure that folks across the river and within the market in Charlotte and the 6-county metro area are coming to Belmont and spending their money. That's great. We'll kind of focus on the ring outside of 50 miles and from 50 miles to 300 miles and take care of that and just invite everybody we can to Gaston County. And then beyond that, if you kind of concentrate the effort a little bit more closely, I think that's great. That's a tremendous collaboration. So as we looked at the plan and going forward, kind of knowing that, we did a SWOT analysis, as you saw, looked at some of the challenges, some of the opportunities, and really there are a lot more opportunities and strengths than there are challenges and weaknesses, but we've also had some tremendous accomplishments. And there's been a pretty long list of accomplishments. One that stands out in my mind is Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park and making sure that the Catawba River is accessible to the general public. And we think on the branding side, that's something that we do better in Gaston County than any other county within the Charlotte metro region does, is provide access to the general public and to visitors to our great natural spaces and resources. So thinking of those types of things and others that are coming, I'll skip right to the end on page 9 and 10. 10 was references, but page 9 was kind of a list of things that came top of mind with some of the future projects that we've all talked about before, whether it be expansion of the thread trails and the greenway system, or making sure there's connectivity between downtown and Main Street and East Catawba and the River District, or connectivity to the garden. Requests from Belmont Rowing Center about a boathouse. Those types of things, they're endless. Park and Rec has talked about an indoor sports facility and that type of thing. So they're all great ideas. They all can't be done. We know that. We have limited resources. But we think that we would get to a great place if we had, from the municipal level, some thoughts and priorities bubbling up that maybe the TDA thinks about investing some of your funds in. Then from there, how do we leverage those to go to the county commission and to get a plan in place to release some reserve funds to match the TDA's commitment in order to pull off some of these projects. So that's kind of the long and short of it, because I think protecting the strategic reserves and doing well with some new revenues I hope that we begin to see after the recovery, that we can invest those revenues just to making it even a better place for people to stay and visit and stay in overnight paid accommodations and regenerate some of our tax money so that virtuous cycle just continues. So that was our thought process, and in wanting to be a strategic and collaborative partner. We know it's not our job to tell municipalities how to do their job. In fact, we do our job better when we understand what the municipalities are up to in planning and development and park and recreation with their Main Street programs. When we know more, then we can tap into that and help amplify that and make it even better, and perhaps turn some of these ideas into future tourism demand drivers. So that's all I have for you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have in particular.
No questions? I can't believe that.
It says that you had dialogues in March and April with city officials and representatives. Who were those?
We started with staff, with Phil and with Jim, and reached out to Adrian. We really thought we'd see it from the city staff perspective, try to get our hands and eyes and ears around what some of these potential projects might be. Of course, and let's read the paper the last 6 years. We know what's about, but we thought we'd put something in place that we from a staff level, from a county level, and from a municipal level, and some folks involved in the tourism side that we felt comfortable with, and then shared it with the TDA. So we have kept Adrian abreast all along. And if you look at page 9 and some of the projects on that, there are discussions that many of us in the room have had in the past. We're not saying that these are the ones, but what we'd like to see is, on the municipal side, you feel more strongly about some than others. Would you prioritize some over others? If we really had a plan to evaluate them, and we're working on an evaluation form now, how would some things grade out? What would you say would be the top 2 or 3 priorities? Because I think the biggest mistake that I could make as the county's director of travel and tourism is not to put any of our reserve funds to the best use possible in growing our destination and our competitive advantage in our destination to just produce more tourism in the long run. So we want to be supportive. We have helped some projects along the way, but knowing that we don't have a bottomless pit of resources, we would like to just develop a mechanism for prioritizing. And I think those priorities probably absolutely need to develop from the municipal level up. If it's a good idea and everyone in Belmont agrees about it, then I think that's fodder for us to go to the commissioners and say, here's what we intend to do. Here's what we intend to do to match.
So I'm just looking at the opportunities here, and the city's budget has outlined the projects on this list already with the priorities, the years, and the funding mechanisms. Do you have that?
I do. We did. If you look on page 10, and in fact, I put together this CCAP. We have a staff of 4, and I assigned 3 staff to helping work on each of the TDA plans. And I looked into Belmont's, and just with all the information that's available through the government website, through the TDA website, through some of the past research that's been done, I was able to pull some of that in just to get the conversation going. And I know that there are some ideas that are out there, and it's amazing how in step, we all tend to have our vision.
I just know that this board and the city have both already written checks to Belmont Trolley, and then the city of Belmont's written a check to the Rocky Branch Park, and the Recreation Center, we've got some preliminary plans, right? And that looks like it's most likely moving forward. And then the Abbey Creek Greenway, correct me if I'm wrong, but we prioritize that pretty high, and we're going to do some design work, weren't we?
Yeah, preliminary stuff, but it's on the
So
radar.
I mean, a lot of these other ones are more private in nature, like the Riverside Marina and Chronicle Mill. So I don't know how much legway, and the Recreation Center kind of encompasses that whole line of stuff you have written there. But so to me, that seems like the city's focus. Now, this board could certainly make different recommendations along the line, but those ones have specific days, years, timelines, and funding mechanisms already in place. So those seem like the easy ones to go after because they look like they're gonna happen.
Right, yeah. They start to clear some hurdles and they begin to happen.
Ryan's,
And I get your point, the difference between the public and the private. And of course, we'd want to make sure that we're kind of reinvesting the public funds along with the other entities that handle the public funds in a way that's best for the common good. But I'm thinking at the end of the day, how do we not have to piecemeal one-off, kind of go and look for things and be more strategic about that? And when we approach county administration and elected officials, that we already have a system that's been thought through, and we've worked through the benefits of some things, and we're all comfortable that if we do this spending, we won't have buyer's remorse for making this ask. We're getting the best out of it that we can.
I think Ryan is right. There's been a lot of time and money already invested and committed to Rocky Branch, the Rowing Center, some of our trails. We're taking on the Park and Rec facility, which is a pretty sizable financial commitment. So I don't know if that ties in with your indoor sports facility. When I was looking at that, are you talking about a standalone facility besides the Park and Rec building?
No, that was really what I've talked in the past is still about, just as they were doing some feasibility and some research, I was involved in it and answering some questions and just having a general discussion about that and about the potential of something like that and what it would mean for tourism and for the potential to book additional tournaments and events beyond the city's recreational needs. So that's probably a good example of moving forward. There was no specific request. Right now it's still kind of in the conversation, but identifying those projects that we think would have carryover towards helping us sell out a hotel on any given weekend would certainly have appeal. So I think they'd be the types of things that would regenerate the occupancy tax fund and perhaps get us involved in supporting with some revenues, not only on the marketing side, but perhaps on the development side. If there's some things to do, whether it be some initial studies, or whether it be some other things that we might be able to afford to do out of the reserves, we'd be interested in doing it. But just knowing that we also have to protect it brings forth the mission of wanting to prioritize these projects.
Michael, as I design the marketing materials for the hotel, which we are right in the midst of doing some new rack cards and things, what type of river access do you feel comfortable with me advertising for people to come to the hotel and stay and have? I know the River Keepers Foundation, huge weekend last week. Where are we at that I could safely say, and how would I promote that on our hotel printed materials that are going to cost some money? So we don't want to put something on there that's not available or not available yet.
That's right. Yeah, it's a good question. And along those lines, one of the things that we've done, we talk about packaging experiences, and with all of the great public access points that have been established along the Catawba and the South Fork of the Catawba, and what the Thread Trail's done and what some of the local governments have done in expanding that, we've created within the Carolina Thread Trail Blueway system, kind of marketed our own Gaston County experience called the 11 Mills Blueway Trail. And these are all points of interest that the general public can connect to via the water if they visit Gaston County. So on both the Catawba side and the South Fork side, we put together some experiences, and it continues to evolve and grow, that kind of combine how folks who are interested in getting on the water can learn more about doing that. So whether they're an enthusiast who's bringing their own kayak, they might just need a launch point. Where can I go do that?
So if they were coming to Belmont and they wanted to get on the water, what would our customers, guests say? This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stay at these hotels at this exit. How is it worded?
Yeah, in January. So I would say we'd love to get you some material on what we're doing to promote outdoor recreation and particularly river access. At the same time, we brought on in January a full-time marketing manager. So it's someone who's worked as an independent contractor with us for the last 10 or 11 years. And we now have her on board full-time as a staffer. We've revamped the website, and we want to really concentrate on the digital realm because we want to own anything terminology-wise, Google search-wise, that relates to outdoor experience and natural resources and getting out in the environment in the Charlotte market. We want to make sure that we're popping up with outdoor experiences in and around Charlotte, that Gaston County, go Gaston, get outside, that whole vibe is being expressed and people are finding it. And that's how we're marketing the destination. Mm-hmm. That if you come here,
could we say river access activities at this point?
Sure, yeah, because there's a lot of different combinations too. One of the exciting things is that more and more we're finding that outfitters are starting businesses to put people on the water, from Anchored Soul and the subboard experiences to Tail Race Marina to Riverside Marina to now the Catawba River Keeper. Over in Mount Holly, there's going to be a new business off of 27. So
I think that's
more and
safe to
more
say.
as we promote that, people will be able to find a variety of ways to get on. So you don't need to just be an enthusiast who owns all your own equipment. If you're just curious and you want to learn more, we can put you in touch with someone who can rent to you by the hour and teach you how to do it.
Yeah, because
So
listening to
there's no
John
barriers.
Searby, like that is exciting to have these trips and have the
Fantastic.
packages. And I just think, as, Ashley and I work on these materials now, like we need to have it ready to go. So when he's ready to go with his trips and stuff, we're ready to go on the accommodation sides as well. So
I'd be happy to bring some information down to you this afternoon on what we're
great.
doing. And
thank you.
Michael, do you
I'll
have
show
any
you some
information on I see your threat here is privatized waterfront. You had said we have more available here than most other places. But, do you know what percentage is private versus public or anything like that?
with the thread trail, we've been working on eventually in the next month or two, we're going to get in front of the commissioners to talk about updating the thread trail master plan for the county to include a Blueway master plan. We'll be the only county within the thread trails region that has a master plan in place for both the greenways and the blueways. When we took a look at all those access points for all the municipalities of Gaston County and what exists, I think we have, I'd have to double check the map, but let's say there's 8 or 10 that are publicly available. There are 2 that I think are more private, 2 or 3. Tail Race is kind of a combination of both because they will rent to you. Riverside is 2 for now. There's one in Belmont, I'm not coming up with the name.
Harbortown.
Thank you. Harbortown, I was gonna say, it's just like in South Carolina, that same name. Who we wanna make sure that we're careful with that, or at least letting people know that that is not a public one. You might not have the experience you expect if you pull up on your kayak saying, let's grab a Coke here and like dock, or pull up on the side. You're probably gonna hear that, oh, this is private property for the neighborhood. Dick Cromlish's place, I can't think of the
Reflection Point.
Wildlife Club.
Wildlife Club. I knew it had a funky name. That's the same type of thing that we want to make sure that people are aware, like what they might come across. Now, as you get to the southernmost part of the peninsula, there's fewer points in between, so people probably won't wander that far with anything on paddle experience, unless we can do some more things with McLean in at some of the land surrounding the garden. But that's what I was thinking, is making sure that even though some of these things are being privately developed, is there a way in the planning process to also make sure that some spaces are retained for the enjoyment of the public? So we wouldn't want to privatize everything like Lake Norman and say, oh, sure, it's a pretty river or pretty lake and you can get out there if you know somebody who happens to own property on it.
But how do you do that? I mean, this is private property, and it's private property because people bought there and they want that property in that lakefront. So I mean, I don't really look at it as a threat. I just look at it as just, I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, that's the pragmatic approach. They own the property, it's not public. Unless we want to start buying lakefront property as a county or a municipality, then we're kind of locked in right now for lake access. We got Kevin Lofton, we're going to have the rowing center, and you've got the landing, Duke Power, down at the end of the peninsula. Besides that, are there any other public access points that I'm missing?
The new development that's being proposed offers,
Is that Del Webb?
yeah, they offer acres the whole way down. That would be public for public use. And I think that's the South Fork River.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was wondering, is if our planning staff, I know that they're trying, every time somebody wants to develop waterfront property, they're trying to get a piece for the public too, as part of that. So I'm wondering if we could be stronger on that, or if we are strong enough, or just
I-
better
you know,
communication with them.
I can give you an example. I mean, the garden owns lakefront property, and we would certainly be interested in developing that. We don't have the resources to develop it right now, but we can develop it as an attraction. So, and there is probably other property that we're not aware of that could be developed as an attraction that would attract tourists. So,
Whose property is it right before you go into Reflection Point Wildlife on the left, that boat access?
I'm sorry.
The boat access, public boat, down by Reflection Point, whose property is
Let's
that?
do Powers Landing.
Yeah, it's Stu
Okay.
Power. So, right.
And I think that's something we all need to be aware of, that just, whether it's small or large or public, or if it's trails or boat access, just whatever we can get, because you're right, once it's gone, it's gone. To Richard's point, once somebody
Yeah.
else owns it.
Right.
But if they want to develop it, that's the opportunity to have them make a public use out of it at the same time.
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Could there be some kind of a mixed use approach to it?
Well-
Even if it's just someone who'll put the public on the water. As
What
a
we're-
tenant, as a
What
retailer.
we're hearing from some of these developments is they want to create parks and then deed it to the city, which is, kind of a double-edged sword. It does give us more access, but then we've got to maintain it. And we're getting stretched pretty thin because we've got like 17 parks right now. So maybe in the future, if you guys want to partner, the maintenance issue might be something to look at.
If Gaston County could.
Yeah, is there a
take the
way
park.
to, with the
Yeah.
county and the municipality, for the county to operate or run the park and maintain the park?
Does the
So you're
county
right,
have a
it-
park in the city of Belmont right now?
I don't think so, but I think the county does have some property that isn't developed yet.
Whose is North Belmont up on?
Oh, that is the
Hickory-
county.
Hickory
I thought
Grove
that was
Road?
county.
Oh, that's-
Is
I
that
thought that's
Belmont?
where I write the check every week.
That's not in the
You
city.
know,
That's not,
It's funny where my
Yeah.
mind draws these borders of the municipalities and where, and where I feel like I know where the borders are. But you're right, and even
The soccer fields.
the
that we-
two fields there. And then kind of across the street from that, there's also South Fork Park. And there's what could be some more convenient access to the river there. Parking's about a half mile from where the launch is. So we need to, on the county side, maybe do a better job of connecting that parking lot conveniently to the launch, or moving some things around in that park so that it is better utilized.
And then we have to advertise it.
I
A lot of
got
people
one
don't
more
even know
question
about
for you.
Sure. Yeah.
You have a weakness here is promotional message coordination with the county. What did you have in mind for that?
I just think it would be to overlook it. And let me also say that, it's pointed out that that could bite us if we didn't keep each other well informed about some of the things and activities that are going on. It's a weakness if we ignore it. However, I don't even have evidence that that's being ignored. I don't have an example to say, because I do think since I've been here, we've done a lot of work to make sure that the county and the city side kind of understood what each other's goals and objectives were, and how to work together where it makes the most sense.
So just keeping in touch and on the same page.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think this is a good document.
So,
Thank you.
3 years ago, we developed a strategic plan with the help of the Lowry Agency. It was 3 years ago. So, unfortunately, we lost the last year of that strategic plan. My thought is that if we like this document, we like this format, we form, perhaps a tax committee. We could do it as a board if we wanted to, but maybe there's somebody that's on this board that really isn't into doing this sort of work. That maybe we get several of us together and include Phil perhaps. And if you think there's other people, other city staff, I would certainly want at least one of the two of our city council members involved in going through this and saying, well, we don't agree with that, cross it out, but this is a strength that we think we need to pay attention to, or this is a weakness that we need to pay attention to. If we're interested in doing that, I think that would probably be an advantageous thing for us to do. And I think we would certainly include a representative of the Lowry Agency in kind of that process so that we can work on things like communication and make sure we have a process in place so that we are communicating our priorities with the county. So thoughts on that?
Well, I tell you, I mean, I look at it a lot of times as, you know, a lot of great ideas, but what can be done versus what's, you know, a wish, you know, and immediately something that jumps out to me. I mean, if the gardens are willing, you have the riverfront property, you have parking, you have infrastructure in place. So, I mean, if you all are willing to look into it, I think some kind of river access, kayak launch, maybe something simple to begin with, just open it up, might be a good project to look at between the county, the city, and the gardens.
So, and actually that's part of the problem is that we don't have infrastructure down there. You know, we don't have city and water and sewer at the garden. And we don't have parking access. Parking access is like 3/4 of a mile. But that could be one thing that we put in here, that we want to help the garden develop part of its property. So that may be something that we want to do. So I think it's up to this board and kind of in conjunction with, but a little bit separate from some of the projects that you're talking about that are already funded and already in progress. So.
And
You're
that's,
asking if it's a good idea to update the 3-year plan. I agree.
And I'm suggesting we update it using this template.
I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
I think it's a good template, but I think we're gonna have to refine it and tool it. more
Absolutely.
To
I'd
Belmont.
make it about half as thick.
So one page.
we paid our consultant by the word.
One per item.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it gets a little repetitive, doesn't
I mean,
it?
we'll take out the picture.
Well, yeah, really, that'll help a
That's
lot.
just too pretty.
So if the board agrees
Focus
with
on page
that,
9. Sorry.
I'll give you some ideas for people who could serve on.
I kind of like.
you'll
the
give me
pictures.
some ideas for people that can serve? Okay, good enough. If you are interested, reach out to me, but I will likely reach out to, you know, various members of the board to get your engagement, but please do reach out. And this is something we would probably do over the next 3 or 4 weeks, I would think. So,
You need a motion?
I'm sorry?
Do you need a motion?
I don't think so, do we? Do we need a motion? Do we need a motion to form an ad hoc committee?
I think it's informational, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Can I squeeze in one other question?
sure.
Michael, are you engaged in conversations about this sort of planning with the other tourism authorities in the county, like Gastonia and Mount Holly?
We are. I had the opportunity to talk to the Gastonia TDA and present at their last board meeting just a couple of weeks ago now. And we're looking to get on the schedule with Mount Holly. But each one of the municipalities participated in the conversation to at least help us get to the point of an initial draft that they were comfortable with putting in front of the TDAs. So we're at that point and just have Mount Holly's TDA to get in front of to see how we can continue to assist and bring it to fruition, you know, and kind of use it to develop a collective mindset on the approach that we take and trying to accomplish the things that are doable and make the most sense, as opposed to spin our wheels on the wish list.
I think that would be a wise thing for us to do, is to involve.
Because we want to make sure, like, there are a couple things that are just missing, like weddings, you know, because that's such a good opportunity for us in this area.
And I think we have that discussion about whether we want to continue to do that or not. Yeah. As a primary focus. And I don't think this needs to include everything we do. I think this includes everything. Well, maybe it does. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I think it definitely includes everything that we see a possible connection with the county.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And I think some of them, in particular, from the county perspective, trying to prioritize those multi-day events that are also recurring. So hopefully people get married and they get married once. And we don't have the opportunity to host their next wedding in 3 years. Uh, So I think that's great collaboration, I would say. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll
But it's the
try to
opportunity
chase
to
the
host
association meeting.
all the daughters and all the nieces. Like, it's just a great experience that people want to come back and repeat similar experiences that the other daughter had or family members.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
Appreciate your time. I'd invite you to come back anytime you like, but it's a public meeting, so you can come back anytime you like. So, but please do, and maybe that would be a good idea if you can come visit on occasion. So we'd love
Be
to have
happy
you.
to. Thank you.
Any other questions for Michael?
No.
All right. So we'll accept that as information, and I'll take some action to move it forward and to move our community tourism action plan forward. Budget discussion. Adrian reached out to me a couple of weeks ago to ask me for just a baseline budget number, and we hadn't had much of a discussion about that, so I don't have anything to present to you today. I'll need to come back to you and present a formal budget for the upcoming fiscal year that begins July 1st next month, so we can plan to meet in June, and in fact, I think our activity will be more vital here over the next several months, so I think we probably will go back to probably a meeting nearly every month, probably not in the, I think we had not been meeting in July and December, so I think our schedule will probably move, if there's no objections to something like that, meeting every other month besides July and December, if that's okay with everybody. But as far as the budget discussion is concerned, Adrian said, I just need a bottom line. I need to know what your revenue is. I don't need the detail. So I reached out to Ashley to get her opinion, and maybe instead of putting words in your mouth, I'll ask you to share what you told me about where you thought our budget might end up for the coming fiscal year.
Well, I've slept since that conversation, so I apologize. I might not remember exactly everything, but and looking at the trending up where we are picking up, and I know Susan, you guys are just kind of opening up, but I know you're getting, some business, and with weddings that have been rescheduled, typically, before it was like Friday, Saturday weddings, and now we're looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday weddings. So we're getting more business on Sundays, but the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has kind of dropped some. So I think we're looking at probably in that 75,000 range just for us.
Just for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you think Home2 will add to that?
Yes.
Okay, because actually that's what I told Adrian was $75,000
Mm-hmm.
As our revenue. Now, pre-COVID, we were easily over $100,000.
Yes.
We were 110 or 115, I think, the
Mm-hmm.
year before COVID-19. It was probably our best year, and that was obviously pre-Home2 Suites.
Mm-hmm.
So what I told Adrian was $75,000. This year we'll be right at $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for some.
Monday through Thursday, that's your business travel.
Mm-hmm.
We have about this much influence over that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
now
can't make,
No.
send the people in.
and now they've learned to use Zoom.
Right.
So it sounds like the weekends are probably our best opportunity
Mm-hmm.
for us to have any influence.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see a return on investment if we're booking hotels for weddings, how much money do we get back at our tax versus how much money are we putting into promoting weddings? Because if we're only collecting 10,000, we're putting out 20. Is there a path to get to move forward, or does that make sense? Have we ever looked at the return on that?
Have
I'm
not.
sure we have. It'd be interesting. I don't know the numbers. I'm happy to do the calculations.
I mean, it makes sense to know that.
Yeah, it would be good.
It's just good information to have.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause we don't want to keep investing in something if it's not like
Breaking
that's
even.
a better way. Yeah. If we're
Okay.
constantly spending 10,000 more than necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
One thing to keep in mind is Home2 is an extended stay. So our extended stayers aren't going home. They
The
are
30
staying.
day, and that's 30 days. We don't get revenue. We don't
Right,
get
the first 30
occupancy
days.
tax
But,
revenue.
they sold their home and haven't been able, they're in between getting another home, and they're staying with us for 2-3 weeks, so.
So, and we do earn occupancy revenue from those
Yes,
folks.
up to 30 days, and we have quite a few that are insurance issues or in between homes, so.
Well, if we only had a realtor on the board that could help us drive some traffic.
I'm working on that. That's my job. Thank you, Jim, for pointing that out. But
We've
it-
seen enough everywhere.
So we need for you just to book up to 29 days.
29
Find-
days,
Find
yeah.
a way to book to
Yeah,
29.
29 and then you're out.
Then I set the fire alarm off, ask the.
Or
4 in the
SWAT,
morning.
whatever you want.
You
You get
offer
to pick.
2 nights free after 29 days.
Right.
Any other thoughts? We're going to hear from the Lyerly Agency in just a few minutes. They're going to give us a year-end report and then a proposal for next year, kind of keeping, a slight increase in mind is what I've asked Malia to present to us now, or in just a few minutes. But any other thoughts before we move on? I think, I could probably come up with a proposal on my own, but I wanted to get if you had any thoughts about what that budget needs to look like. But I'll take weddings into consideration and look at, can you give me a number of room nights that you have for weddings? Is that something that you could give me?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have
No,
to-
no,
yeah,
I
I'd
wouldn't
have to
expect
look
off the
at
top
it.
of your head. I couldn't tell you how many weddings we have at the garden off the top of my head. So,
Kim mentioned you had 15 weddings in April.
Oh,
Right,
Kim said,
Nick.
well, that you got to keep in mind, that's not all definite either, too, so. And that's just her making, talking to people.
The only thing I would say, in your budget, I think you and the board, we've kind of adopted kind of a conservative position because the future's kind of murky.
Mhm.
And I think you're right. Until the business community fleshes out what they want to do, and you're right, I think they've discovered that they can meet effectively with Zoom. So I don't know what the business travel will look like. So, I'd just say, be conservative until it's warranted not to be.
yeah, we can always increase our activity. We can't, not pay bills that we've already spent
Yeah.
or not honor commitments that we've already made. So, okay. Thank you. If you have other thoughts, feel free to reach out.
I just have a quick question. Is the trolley still a go? Is that still part of our budget that we're?
So one thing that we talked about was going to the trolley board and asking them if we could maybe restructure.
Yeah,
Is
they're
that,
open to that.
that they are open to that? So that would give us an additional restructuring, meaning we don't pay this year and we pay 4 additional years.
I would just have the conversation. If any, I would just think it would make sense for a couple people to have a discussion, figure out whether you reduce the payment, extend it a year, or just roll next year's payment to the year at the end. Or whatever. I think they're open to that.
Are they delayed in their timeline?
Yeah. So they're not real too concerned about it because they're delayed. They've already come to the city, expressed why they're delayed. So I don't think they're too it's not going to crush them to miss a year.
Okay. And
I think restructuring is still honors the commitment, just whatever works best for us.
okay, is the city paying according to the schedule that they established?
We are.
Okay. Good question.
The city also said that this year is an important year for them. That they had a tough year this past year, but this year is going to be a benchmark year for progress for the city, as far as I've interpreted the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
The construction of the hospital will be beginning soon. So just making sure that the contractors and the folks that are working on that hospital are staying here in Belmont is a priority of Ashley and ours as well.
So do those tend to be long-term, extended stay?
Yeah, I've actually
or-
already started talking with the Bridgewater and other consultants that have come into Gaston County just for surveying and site visits. Just, making sure that we have the right contacts and that we've reached out to them, and so they're not just staying anywhere, they're staying here in
Well,
Belmont.
it certainly makes sense, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think most of the time for any type of construction like that, the people end up leaving on the weekends. They don't stay on the weekends. So as far as that, no occupancy revenue that we could possibly get. I think we would get some.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be staying consecutively.
Right, they won't go home, like they'll go home and come back, yeah.
Mhm.
Which we do see, I'm seeing pretty good corporate travel that are following that pattern as well, as staying Monday through Thursday, going home Friday, coming back Sunday night, staying again, so that's our occupancy tax there.
Which one of you are targeting the construction people? Because, I mean, it would make more sense if they go home on the weekends for you to target them, because if they end up being extended stay,
I think we'll share the business, to be honest with you. We work so closely together as being sister facilities and having shared ownership in management companies. We'll be working on it together, to make sure we capitalize those rooms, that business.
I would just rather they not stay over 30 days, but to build that's going to be a long-term process. I mean, you do what you have to do, but I mean, for us, it'd be better if they stayed at your hotel.
Yeah.
But I don't,
Why?
well,
Why do you think it would be better for them to stay?
it's going to take longer than 30 days to build that. Oh, wait a minute. No, after 30 days, we get the revenue. Is that right?
So, but the people are going, they're here for, 4 or 5 days, then they go to wherever they live over the weekend, and then they come back
Right.
4 or 5 days. They're not staying there for 30 straight days.
And you don't have to
Okay.
be extended stay at home too. You can be transient, you can be just bi-weekly, weekly. So we can run the same type of business the Hampton is. We just have
Okay.
the option.
Well, I guess I was assuming if the company is booking the rooms for them, they book it for the duration. We need these guys here 90 days. We book the room for 90 days. I don't care if they go home on the weekends or not. The book is,
That's an interesting concept, and that'd be wonderful, but I'm not.
And
I'm not sure that's not what we're experiencing now with some companies like Walmart has folks coming in. Amazon right now, we have housing some job agencies working with Amazon. They're not booking straight through. They're flying in on Sunday night, flying back out Friday morning, and then coming back in Sunday night, flying back out Friday morning.
and so,
It just depends.
and these are engineers and technicians and company executives.
Well, actually, they are more salespeople for jobs, for finding employees, the ones with Amazon.
No, I'm
job
just
fairs.
saying the people in general involved in the construction.
Well, the ones that have come in so far are contractors,
Contractors,
Mhm.
but like the executives from
the
the,
executives,
yeah,
exactly, for
they're
site
not the
visits,
construction
mhm.
people.
Not
Yeah.
yet,
yeah.
not yet.
And with the construction people wouldn't stay at your facility if they're coming from out of town.
Depends. They have specialists coming in to do certain types of work or,
okay.
Technology, things like that. So I think we have to keep an open mind that it's a good opportunity for our
Absolutely.
hotels. And we just don't want them to pick any other hotel but
Agreed.
these.
Duke Energy is also bringing a lot of environmentalists here
Mhm.
working on their site, so that'll be another opportunity.
And we are housing Duke Energy. Thank you. Yes, both of us are. Yes. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Phil. Okay. Thank you. Malia and Melinda, I guess, for the report. I don't know.
Is that on? Okay. We've got, the first thing in your packet is the progress summary. And a few weeks ago, Jim asked us to kind of summarize what has been going on in the past year and what tourism things have been happening. So we created this document and just wanted to share that with you so you know what's been happening. So a lot of what we've been doing the past year is sharing pertinent COVID-19 information and what's open, what's not open, and links to that. Last March, we were all geared up for Belmont Blooms, which was going to be our new signature event, and then COVID happened, so that was stopped. It's something that I'm still hope happens at some point, but we've got a little bit of recovery to happen between now and then. We've been sharing the city's information about that, the videos and collateral material, and emphasizing precautions and safety about COVID-19. We promoted alfresco dining, which was a great thing in downtown Belmont, and recreational opportunities because outside has been a safer place than inside. We've really pushed that and gotten a lot of coverage on that. So in local and statewide publications, AAA Carolina's covered it, WBT's Queen City at 3, QC at 3. Also, Ted spoke on that live. We also handled Ivanka Trump's visit to Cherub's Cafe in downtown Belmont. And while she was here, she went to the cafe, she went to the Cotton Candy Factory, and also Bliss Gallery. That was highly covered. We reached 724 million people and 122 published stories that we could track. So that was telling a lot of people about Belmont. Holidays 2020, again, focusing on a safe holiday season, but also promoting a lot of things that were outdoors from the city's events, and also the garden, and also McAdenville, as people could stay in their cars and see that safely. We did a lot of publicity on the reverse Christmas parade in Belmont, with hopefully the one only. Hopefully we'll be back in our places watching it drive by instead of all walking by it next year. And we did disseminated press releases about holidays and 17 different local media hits on that. We are consistently posting on our social media channels. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, those audiences are growing. And we are continuing our monthly media trivia contests that people seem to be having a lot of fun with that. And some of our local establishments have been donating gift cards for us to publish and promote. So we're also doing all new businesses as they're coming in, from Heirloom, Belmont Yoga, Wandering Cup, Home to Sweets, and publishing that information. And then anything we know of that's going on in Belmont, we're publishing it and trying to get the word out. So this is kind of a summary of what we've done in the past year. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, so we're sharing a mic, so I'm going to turn this over to Melinda to go over the agenda.
I don't think I've ever put one of those on before. Okay, so just looking at the last couple months since we reported only 2 months ago, doing social media trivia. So March was for Catawba River Antique Mall, and that had a great turnout online. Anchored Soul for April, which we thought was a great one since we're pushing people to go outdoors and enjoy Belmont in that way. This month, it'll be Surprise Me, who actually donated a $50 gift card, which is fabulous. And then again, we're always accepting more donations. So if you know anybody who wants to, we're game for that. Calendar, we've already talked about Kirkhill, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Silks. We've mentioned that about Daniel Stowe. They also have, well, maybe have movies on the lawn this evening.
No.
Okay.
Postpone till June tonight.
When I typed this, it wasn't raining yet, so.
Understand.
Belmont Market Days at Primal. There have been a lot of great market days happening in Belmont we've been talking about. The U.S. National Whitewater Center is getting roaring again with a lot of activity, concert series and everything. We don't put them in often, but since they're so close, and if people come in for mostly marathons and big runs where we know they are not going to want to drive home, we talk about those occasionally, also try and push them to the hotels. So, and then there's a lot of things long-term, but this is a little on the short term in the next month or so. Website updates, we do continue to have something on the front page about the pandemic, making sure people know, come to Belmont, please be safe, social distance as you can. But we're talking about Primal Brewery, since they have a great outdoor patio that people can safely enjoy, and they opened in the middle of COVID, so we have not featured them yet. And then some additions, Belmont Brewing Company, Hot Cocoa, Summer Blaze Interiors asked to be added. We don't add as many places that are not tourism related, but they requested to be added to the page, and so we accept those requests. And then we have Honeycomb Cafe coming soon. PR coverage is a little low, but these are the quiet months, these beginning of the year. You guys had a great article with our state, which we shared on our media and is on the newsroom for Visit Belmont. So if you're ever curious what articles have been recently released, we're putting them up there as we see them. Facebook activity, all of the social media has been really steady, even despite the pandemic. People are still going in there, still looking, still engaging, which is great. A lot of our stuff is shared from other businesses so we can promote what they have happening, and then other things where we collectively put together all of the things for St. Patrick's Day, since there was so much going on. We have a post scheduled for this week about it being American Craft Beer Week, since we have a thriving local craft beer scene happening. So we try to talk about those things in the collective in addition to the individual events happening. And so you can see the numbers here. Our reach is great for Facebook. Instagram is great. We're doing a really good job. Twitter activity, it goes up and down. But I've said this before, it depends on what we talk about, since Twitter's a little more specialized with conversation. So any questions about this part? Wonderful. Let me pass this back.
Just keep going with budget, or you want to?
We will, any questions about the report? No questions about the report, we'll shift over to the budget presentation.
Okay. Well, what we have done, Jim gave us a different budget number than we had last year, thank goodness, because the hotels are picking up. And so this past year, all we have done is professional services, and the budget was $2,500 a month. And so it's kind of just to keep us out there, and so that everybody knows we're here, pushing on social media and website and everything. And there was not any external spend, so our search engine marketing went from $1,500, actually $2,050 a month, down to zero. So we were hoping with the additional money that we could start picking up a few things again. So what we are proposing is that over the next year, that our professional services time go up to $3,000 a month. So what that includes is public relations, sending out press releases, calling the media, trying to engage them and get them interested to come out here. It's also social media posting and updates, changes to graphics on social media. It's updating our two websites, which is Visit Belmont NC and also the Belmont Brides website. Online postings, we're researching local events, making a lot of phone calls and things to people about what's going on, and then meetings, reports, and admin. So that's what is included in that $3,000 a month.
Why did the professional services go from 2,500 to 3,000?
Excuse me?
Why did the professional services go from 2,500 to 3,000?
Well, we have things to promote this year. And so I was talking to Cassidy and Phil, about the events that are being planned this year. In previous years, it was 4,500. And last year, because of the pandemic, it dropped down to 2,500.
So is it based on time?
Yes, absolutely.
And how much time then do we get for $3,000?
If you divide that by 175, we can give you the hours. This year is there aren't going to be as many events as there were 2 years ago, but there are going to be a lot more than there were last year. So this budget, just so you have a perspective, at $45,000, 2 years ago, our budget was at $91,000. So this is about half of what that was for the promotion. How many hours?
It's 17 hours.
Yeah. So, and just so you know, Belmont is our love, and we love being here, and we love this town and want to promote it. And for years, what you've paid us is about half the time that we have in it, but we want to do it. And, Phil and I have monthly lunches so we can find out what's going on and share some information. And, you know, we just love it. So this is based on 17 hours. Next is search engine marketing. And what we would like to do is get a $600 budget. As I mentioned before, we were at $2,050 a couple of years ago, but this at least gets us back out there. So this is when you type in things to do in Belmont, or, you know, outdoor activities in Belmont, that sort of thing, where it comes up and that we show up higher on the list. Right now, a lot of other things are above us. Charlotte's got a lot. A lot of other things are above us because we're not doing a spin. So what we'd like to do is $600 a month, as you know, to get back out there a little bit. So that's $7,200. We're looking at Moonlight on Main as a real opportunity to bring people in. So we want to do a listing, an event listing on the North Carolina tourism site. And we also think that this is worthy of Newswire so that we can get that out, because we believe people will drive here to see it. And that's $1,000 for the wire. And then on a little bit further over is an option, and this would be digital ads on Axios, which used to be Charlotte Agenda, and Charlotte 5. So we would like to do that, but that's not included in the budget number that Jim gave us. That's if things are going well. And then the next item is holidays, and for that we would want to do a Newswire again. We've done that wire for a while. And then as an option are the digital ads to help bring people in. And then we also put Friday Night Live digital ads, but that's in the optional column also. So in the first column, we've got a total of $45,500 as our recommended budget. And then if things go well, we wanted to go in and put the additional at $52,205. Does anybody have any questions about the recommendation?
What was your search engine marketing year before last? How much we were spending on?
It was $2,050. So we had $1,500 for General Belmont, and we did $550 for brides.
Oh,
Per month.
oh,
Yes.
we're using a WordPress website. Is that right?
Yes,
Are we?
it's
oh.
optimized.
We're using the optimization tools because there's more and more optimization tools that WordPress has available. And what we found last year, what we were starting to find was that our website, because we use a WordPress-based website too, we were finding it was so well optimized. I think you're telling me we still need to do some search engine optimization. We don't feel like we need to do so much at the Garden because we are well optimized, I think, because of that website. So we're using those tools as well as we can.
Yeah, we're doing the optimization, you know, periodically as part of our professional services
Okay.
fee, but we do feel like we still need to be out there. And especially right now because we've been down for a while, and we're going down on the page.
So so have you looked at the analytics? You know, I know there's not as much going on, so it's hard to analyze, but can you give me anything that illustrates that we do need to spend this money as opposed to doing something else?
Yeah, we've looked at some numbers. I didn't bring any of that with me, so I'd be glad to do that and look at it.
I'd like to vet that a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, you know, does it make more sense for us to do retargeting or on-target advertising as opposed to search engine marketing? That's what I'm kind of getting at. So.
At a layperson's perspective, I'm on Visit Belmont's website probably more than the average human, and it's still coming up several down if I go to a search engine to look for it. And so my Google knows I go to this, and yet, you know, Charlotte comes up first, City of Belmont comes up first.
Okay.
But, you know, a lot of things are coming up, and we're several down the page where we're not above the fold like we used to be when we were putting some dollars behind Google.
Yeah, like I just searched things to do in Belmont, and TripAdvisor's first, and then Trip 101 is first, but then Visit Belmont NC.org is third. So it's
Yeah,
it's not first, which
and
would be great if
TripAdvisor-
it was.
Yeah, if you look at TripAdvisor, a lot of it comes in Belmont Street in Charlotte or the community of Belmont. So there are a lot of not the city of Belmont.
Yeah, you have that confusion. If they don't, yeah, I mean, there's, this one actually is Belmont, but, like the city, but
But once you go
I
into the
could see how, yeah,
TripAdvisor,
that could, the Charlotte,
once you go into TripAdvisor, there are a few things in Belmont, but there are a lot of Belmont Street or the community of
Oh,
Belmont.
gotcha.
What?
You
Can you
can.
advertise with TripAdvisor?
Yeah, but it's expensive
Yeah,
and
very.
it's weird. I
So
don't like that.
we actually sell tickets through TripAdvisor, which works fairly well, and I just pay them a percentage, which is, I don't know, it's 20% or something. So, and that works well, but it's expensive to advertise.
Travel and tourism websites besides Belmont's anywhere in the world. But I've been on TripAdvisor just about every time.
I mean,
I guess that was my thought.
No, I mean, it makes sense because it is where people go, but like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm thinking about Yelp. Yelp is the ones that I don't like. TripAdvisor is a great site, and I don't know how much it costs to do.
It's expensive.
Is it?
Instead of trying to beat them for optimization, why not just let
Join
them
it.
optimize and then just throw money at being on?
So if we had a product like that we were selling tickets to, and maybe there's something the hotel wants to do, maybe there's a way you can do that. I think that would be a good option. I don't know of a way to do that that's affordable.
There's probably, I'm sure there's a way to advertise with them, just Belmont as a tourist attraction or tourist destination, because that's what they are. I mean, same for you. Like when I travel, that's usually one of the first websites I go to look for things to do and where I'm going to plan a trip. But
Or I'll read newspaper articles that have like fun ideas.
yeah, so like if somebody was going to TripAdvisor and searching for Charlotte, hey, I'm going to go to Charlotte, so I want to look for things to do in Charlotte. If we advertised, maybe Belmont could show up as something, as Belmont things or Belmont the city. I don't know how that works, but maybe that would be great if we showed up when somebody was trying to find things to do in Charlotte. Maybe, I don't know.
That's just like how I travel. How everybody goes. Usually. Then I was at Riverman Brewery a few years ago, and there was 3 guys in there, all from far out of state, and every one of them said the first thing they did when they landed at the airport was Google closest brewery, and that popped up, so they all rode out here and spent the night in state. And so it's just like, all right, well.
And it's funny, I get a lot of, at the coffee shop, I get a lot of people from the airport, because I think
It's close.
yeah, they're just Googling like coffee shops near me, and they just show up like they're on their way to Asheville or they're on their way to whatever, and they just like stop in there. So it's
We are
just weird.
slogan, closest to the airport.
Yeah. I mean, we are close, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that search is helped by being out there on the internet too. So, so we have a small budget in here for that. But Jim, I'll be glad to talk to you about the SEM and SEO conversation.
Phil, are any of these things that you would tend to do that Malia's proposing for Moonlight on Main?
Well, I think that the EPA and Main Street would be happy to advertise parks.
But these aren't things you're currently planning to do as part of your promotional plan?
I would
Or are they additive to your promotional plan?
I mean, I could sit down and meet, we're still working on our whole marketing plan, so, and some of it will be with Michael, I will be able to get as well, so we're still trying to finalize that.
Okay. So I think the newswire is a good way to go. I mean, that it was picked up by, the last one we did was picked up by 100 publications. So that's a pretty good investment for $1,000.
It is, and people will drive for this Moonlight on Main, and because it's not anywhere else around here, and it's just so cool.
Questions or comments?
I've got a comment or an idea, and it was kind of, I guess, triggered by Ryan bringing up Belmont Brides. my daughter's getting married at the end of this month, and this has been a really interesting couple of months. Now, I've been admittedly kind of on the perimeter, both intentionally and being put there, which has been good because I've had a good kind of oversight or view on this. And, you know, what seems to be relatively simple, in my view, maybe that's just a male perspective, became really complicated and a lot of stress. And I was sitting here watching, I said, I don't understand this stress level, you know, to try to accomplish these tasks. So if we're going to push the brides, you know, and this is just an idea, and this is a guy speaking, I don't know from Adam about weddings, but this is what I've observed. If we're going to push Belmont as a wedding location, if I were looking at it, and again, this is my singular perspective, what would be really helpful is if we could offer the venues, which we can, the hotels, which we can, but they were stressing out about things like rehearsal dinner, shower venue, shuttle service, entertainment for the bridesmaids and groomsmen, maybe an event. So I was sitting here, I was thinking, you know, if we could offer those, if you had some kind of coordination or package to say, look, you know, you're having your wedding in Belmont, we have these venues for a bridal shower that we can book for you. We have these restaurants for your rehearsal dinners that have these preset menus. You make the selection. You know, we can offer a shuttle service for guests to the weddings and to these venues if you so desire. You know, the Whitewater Center, maybe the Rowing Club could offer entertainment packages for something for your groomsmen or bridesmaids to do. But something that's a lost art, and they were really looking for, was a local seamstress, bands and DJs. If there's a way, you know, we can incorporate some or all of that, I mean, again, for me, I mean, I'm a guy, I like things easy. If you could offer me this, if Marita would put me in charge of the wedding, and I came to a place where you made it easy for me to, and you told me, okay, I got to have a place for rehearsal dinner, you need a shower, you need yada, yada, yada. If I can work with somebody, I mean, I'll go down and I'll check the list. If you give me a discount, also, if people could work together, and if you book multiple options, you're going to get this discount. I mean, that's more enticing because there's a lot of competition for weddings. So, I mean, it's just an idea. If somebody could put some or all of that together, if it's me in charge, I say, well, I like Belmont because I've just gone down, I've set the menu, I've picked the venue, I've booked the entertainment, I have a shuttle. They even gave me, if you need to adjust your dresses, I've got a seamstress. That one really blew my mind, but I guess nobody really knows how to sew. But I mean, they did find somebody who could alter these dresses, and apparently everybody needed alterations. So I mean, that was a big process. So anyway, that's my thought. I mean, if you're going to develop it, then I think we need to go dig a little deeper. And if you can make it easy and offer those options, you know, it seems like it would be simple to get a restaurant to come up, okay, can you create this menu? You know, chicken, beef, whatever. You know, just again, check a box. I mean, for me, that's the perfect world. I'd handle all the kids' weddings if I could do that. You know, just boom, okay, done. No stress.
Somebody found all the providers for you.
Yeah,
Well,
here's a checklist.
yeah, but I mean, I think it's,
I think that's a great idea, because actually in the conversations and being new in the industry, this past 3 months, they asked me, are you from the area? Could you tell me where I should eat, you know, I have a good friend of mine is a seamstress. She has so many of our brides. So I totally agree with you. If anybody needs help, I mean, I would be happy to offer.
Charge that to be on our list.
Well, the website
Yeah, we
has
have that.
lists of,
One of the things with the BelmontBrides.com
Yeah.
website, we don't have
Yeah.
what you're talking about, where somebody's going to put the whole thing together for you. But, you know, we do have links to venues, whether it's the wedding itself or the rehearsal dinner or, you know, bridesmaids parties and that sort of thing. So there are links on BelmontBrides.com to you know, people who are doing the events, you know, bringing the tables and the tablecloths and that. And actually, I've talked to 3 different companies in the past month, and they've said that what they have booked right now will give them the biggest year they've ever had in the next 12 months. So we're probably solid booked at the garden at this point.
We just have limited quantities to sell, so it's going to be as big as any other previous year.
Well, do you guys?
Right, we don't have a seamstress. We don't have DJs on there.
You don't have
So-
DJs on there?
We don't.
We don't
You don't
have,
have one in,
Well, so a lot of it is all, they have to be in Belmont, because to Brian's point, I mean, at one point we talked about
we did.
monetizing the site for people outside of Belmont, which literally means Mount Holly, Gastonia, any of that. But what we had was like creating this actual Belmont businesses that do this. We're a little on the limited side, minus venues, restaurants,
Why can't
hair
we,
salons.
can we not expand to Gaston County?
Well, as soon, we talked about this, the creation is, as soon as we start expanding, it's when do we stop expanding? Why not Charlotte when Gastonia is just as far away? So that's what we talked about at some point, trying to monetize the site and having if you want to be on it, but you're
Okay.
not in Belmont, this is what, but we never got to that point, and COVID happened, and so weddings kind of hanging for a bit, so.
right, but we've got photographers on there.
Yeah.
So it is a resource for people, but if there's not a shuttle service that's based in Belmont, we don't have them on there.
Right.
I think that it's a disservice to the brides if we're not providing them with the real information they need and limiting it to just Belmont, because it's not making it easy for them, which is what we need to do, is make it easy for them. And so even if we just limit it to Gaston County, because that's where Belmont is, and if we do monetize it, I mean, I think that's even better because it gives us more money.
Yeah, but just remember, we're focused on Belmont. No
We-
offense to Gaston.
We are, but as
Gastonia,
a bride, if I'm going to get married in Belmont, I'm not going to be able to find all of the vendors I need in Belmont. And so if our job is to serve the customer, which is the bride, then, I mean, we're not serving them well if we're like, well, we can only tell you about Belmont businesses. All the other things you're going to be on your own.
No, what
for.
she's saying, that's all that's on our site.
I know.
I'm not saying that we couldn't give anybody any information, but that's just what we're putting on our site.
Right.
The thought was if we, expand, then do they need to pay to be on our site?
Right, and that's why I said monetizing it is a great idea if that's where we want to go. But I just think that we need to serve the bride better than we probably are by.
So could you give us a proposal for monetizing it? Is that something that you can do, or is that something we need to figure out?
I think when we first discussed it,
Beyond
we
you?
just weren't sure of the legalities considering we're an authority under the city. So that was part of it as well, is we need to figure that part out.
If you can't do it on your website, can you put a link, these services, and we could put it on the city website? I mean, if that's an issue
I just
because of statute or something?
I think you need to make it easy for the bride, though. If the bride has to go to, I mean, why would the bride go on the
Well,
city website?
So
know?
I charge vendors $500 a year to be a preferred vendor of the garden.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we can monetize it. I think we should, but if we can't monetize it, we still shouldn't not put stuff on there just because.
I'm just saying, if we want to monetize it, we need to start by monetizing it,
Right.
not work
No, I
towards
agree.
monetizing
No, I
it. So,
agree. I
so
agree.
let's take a shot at doing that
Yeah,
first.
I
If that doesn't work,
Right.
then maybe we rethink it. It's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm going.
I think if you can make it really easy for the bride, that word of mouth, will get out there. Belmont knows how to do this, and they've got all the options, and you can it's a slick operation. But I would suggest, I'm pretty risk averse. And when Marie told me that we were probably going to have an open bar at our wedding, I said, well, okay, these people that are staying in hotels, all the out-of-towners, I said, I want a shuttle. So we're looking for a shuttle service, because I said, I'm not going to have people drinking at the wedding and then trying to drive themselves home, because I don't know what my exposure or liability would be on that as a host. So I'm going to bring everybody to the event. They can do what they want. And then I'm going to make sure everybody gets back on that bus and gets to the hotel. And then,
Sleep it off.
they're on their own,
So there is a bus service in Belmont.
There's not one that I found, but I mean, we're looking at either Charlotte or whatever, because I just need a couple of vans.
Our hotels are offering shuttle services for our guests to the wedding venues in Belmont, so it's helping.
I think it's important because
It is, but to be honest, most of them aren't even using it.
Really?
Well, that's
They don't want to be
It's a new
cooped up
business
in the.
idea for somebody in Belmont to open up a shuttle business,
Yeah.
transportation company.
Mhm.
I just think if you know, if we want to capture that business, it's great that we got the venues, but I think we need to be a little bit more all encompassing, because what I've learned from this is it's not hard, and I don't know if stress is part of the fun. It's not for me. But it seems like if you could do it, I mean, just to have stuff, you know, order a la carte, you know, even a photographer. It was hard to find a photographer.
Well, and like even looking at, like, I feel like there's just looking at the website, like there's one photographer listed, but I know there's more than one bridal photographer in Belmont. Like I know of several. So, I mean, and maybe it's time to, maybe there's more businesses out there that we know about. I don't know if there's a way to advertise that, like even with a Facebook post, hey, if you're a Belmont business that serves brides, send us a message and let us know. We'll put you on our website, you know, and so there could be businesses, small businesses that don't even have a brick and mortar that you don't know about, just because, like, you know, it's word of mouth or whatever. So that might be a way too to just expand what's on there.
Okay.
Any other thoughts about this proposal?
No.
Would you just like me to shape the budget and present it to you at the next meeting? I will do that. Any other business to come before the board? We have other business to come before the board.
Volunteer work in the Chamber of Commerce. The networking reception that was supposed to be in last May at Favorite Mountain Prep is tomorrow night, 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock, Favorite Mountain. Postponed by exactly a year. And coming up on June the 5th, we talked a lot about the Riverkeeper Foundation. Chamber will go to Belmont at their location out in Caddenville at the kayak and canoe launch on Mill Drive. It's Saturday, June the 5th, 1 till 2, at the ribbon at 1:30. Come out and welcome those guys to Gaston County and the Belmont. It's fantastic. The Colorado River Foundation, Riverkeeper Foundation, is relocating its offices from Charlotte to Belmont. The Caddenville, to be more specific.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other business, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.